Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons throughout the editions, and talk about the quality of the types of DMs that different eras within Dungeons and Dragons have created. And this is specifically coming from a famous saying that talks about how specific times and the attributes of those times map to the attributes of people. Okay, all right. So let's talk about it. All right. So there's a famous saying. I'm going to share that saying with you right now, and it says, "Hard times create strong people." Okay, strong people create good times. Good times create weak people. Weak people make hard times. So I recently heard this saying, and it really, it rang, it echoed in my heart and my mind, and I'm like, is this true? And I think there is an element of truth to it. I think it is a pattern, and without a doubt, this pattern has repeated itself in history. But I also believe that the pattern can be broken, right? So that if people, we're self-aware. People are self-aware. We're not animals, right? I think that's one of the biggest things where, between animals and humans, right? Humans have self-awareness, right? Humans can say, am I a good person, right? Whereas it's unlikely a dog says, am I a good dog, right? Like, it's one of the aspects of humanity that makes us unique from animals. And I think it's really unique, right? So I think we get into this pattern in history, but we as human beings are able to break it, right? And so what I want to do today is I want to look at this pattern, right, and see how has this pattern mapped through the editions of Dungeons and Dragons. Have we seen this pattern mapping through the editions of Dungeons and Dragons? So let's talk about it. All right, edition number 1, right? So first edition of Dungeons and Dragons. You're talking late 70s, early 80s, right? What was the mapping there? Well, one, there is no mapping to the saying, and the reason why is 1E is the genesis of Dungeons and Dragons, right? It is the genesis of Dungeons and Dragons, and all you're seeing in 1E is Dungeons and Dragons emerging into the world, right? And you really don't have Dungeons and Dragons times, and you don't have Dungeons and Dragons dungeon masters, right? But 2E changes, right? So what do we see with 2E? Well, 2E is hard times, strong DMs, okay? So 2E is the 80s, right? Like, you're talking the late 80s and the early 90s, and frankly, these were hard times for Dungeons and Dragons. The 80s were the Satanic Panic. This is arguably the most difficult era that Dungeons and Dragons has ever weathered, right? And there was literally the culture of America, significant portions of the culture of America attacking Dungeons and Dragons and saying, this hobby should not exist, right? That, like, 2E is the only era where that was said with significant numbers, right? Today might be a few, you might find a few people, maybe in the hundreds, maybe in the low thousands, that would say this, but at the level of millions, the way it was being said in the 80s, nothing like it, right? So 2E was hard times creating strong DMs, okay? What happened with 3E? Well, 3E was great DMs making good time. Was strong DMs, strong dungeon masters making good times, right? And so I really think with third edition, you had a lot of these strong DMs that had come out of 2E, serving as kind of a backbone, a spine for the DM community within 3E, right? Teaching other DMs to be strong DMs, and it created good times. So, right? Like 3E was incredible, right? It was really, really incredible, right? And basically, you saw this era where there were, hundreds of books, and Dungeons and Dragons did fantastically during third edition. One of the reasons why Dungeons and Dragons did so well during third editions was the open gaming license. The open gaming license was truly unique to Dungeons and Dragons third edition. Open gaming license does exist for 4th and for 5th, but in both cases, the open gaming license was massively weakened, right? And the open gaming license today is much, much weaker today for 5th edition than it was during 3rd edition, right? There was an eagerness for other creators to come in and build Dungeons and Dragons community up and build, and Dungeons and Dragons was an element that would go into many other games, right? That's not happening today. And I am fully aware of the DMs Guild, and I understand that the OGL is still there, but for 4th and 5th edition, the OGL is massively reduced. It's a shriveled form of its former glory, right? All right. So basically, with 3E, you really have strong DMs making good times, right? Now, what is 4E, right? Well, here it breaks from the pattern. 4th edition does not match does not match the same. And here's why. In my opinion, 4th edition was an anomaly. 4th edition was a really, really unusual thing. It was Dungeons & Dragons looking over at video games saying, oh my gosh, video games are the future of everything. Not just Dungeons & Dragons, but everything. And we need to make Dungeons & Dragons more video game-like, right? And so I really think 4th edition is an anomaly. It doesn't map to the saying, but 5th edition does, right? So what happens with 5th edition, right? Well, 5th edition is really unique. And basically, 5th edition, right now, 5th edition is, basically, 5th edition is good times. 5th edition is truly good times. We are right now, literally right now, within a month of the celebration of the 5th anniversary of 5 years of 5th edition, right? And these have been wonderfully good times. The 4th edition problems are behind us. 4th edition almost broke the game. It broke the community in half, and it's a dark. 4th edition is a dark note in the 4th edition was a time where the game itself almost broke the community forever, right? Like, it literally cut the community in half, and there were just literally low hundreds of thousands, if not a low million or two players walking away from the game during 4th edition. 5th edition has been a complete resurrection of Dungeons & Dragons. It's one of the best received editions ever, and it has been truly, there's no way to look at 5th edition as anything but good times. Guess what good times make? Weak DMs. And boy, are we seeing weak DMs, right? Now, let me be super clear. There's some very strong DMs that have come out of 5th edition, right? But they are the exception, right? The reality is, these good times are making weak DMs at the macro level. If you look at the macro level for DMs, 5th edition is absolutely making weak DMs. Why is that? Well, pre-gens, right? We have the shiniest, brightest, coolest adventure books ever, and we've had 11 of them, right? That's what 5th edition has created. 11 adventures, right? And right now, you could go on YouTube and you can find the smartest, most brilliant minds in Dungeons & Dragons commentary, the smartest, most brilliant DMs running pre-gen adventures. What a travesty. What an absolute shameful event, right? The reality is you just go across the board, right? Go across, Dawnforge Cast and many others, right? And you will find DMs that are 100% capable of building their own worlds and showing others how to build their own worlds. And what are they running? They're running Storm King Thunder. They're running Curse of Strahd. They are literally running pre-gens and letting their creative juices, letting their strengths, letting their talents, letting their DM kung fu grow weak, right? Pre-gen adventures create weak DMs. And the more you run, the weaker you are as a DM. Period. Full stop. right? 5th edition is good times creating weak DMs. What will 6th edition be? All right? We're coming up on 6th edition. It is my opinion Kate Welch will pick up design lead for 6th edition. I think within 2 or 3 years, we will, probably about 3 years total. I think 3 years from now, Gen Con 3 years from now, we will be playing Kate Welch's Dungeons & Dragons, 6th edition, right? So what will that be? That will be weak DMs creating good times, right? Now wait, you're like, what? That's a record scratch. That ain't in the saying. There's no part of the saying that says weak DMs creating good times, right? So why would weak DMs create good times rather than weak DMs creating hard times, right? Well, the reality is, here's the thing. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is good times making weak DMs at the macro level, right? Now, there are strong DMs, right, that have survived from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th edition or have been trained by 2nd, 3rd, 4th edition Dungeon Masters. And there are 2nd, 3rd, and 4th edition Dungeon Masters who are now taking their DM Kung Fu and putting it onto the interwebs, allowing others to learn from them in the Shaolin Temple of strong Dungeons & Dragons Kung Fu, right? So that's the issue, is that tiny remnant, right, of strong DMs that came out of second and 3rd edition, right? I'm not sure a lot of strong DMs came out of 4th edition. That's wrong. But they have been able to preserve in amber what it takes to be a good DM, and that exists in blogs and podcasts and in YouTube and on YouTube, right? So that even though at the macro level, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition has made weak DMs, there can be just a small thread, a lattice, a diamond hard lattice of a few good strong DMs, right? And those strong DMs can still go onto YouTube, run an actual non-pre-generated adventure, show people how it's done, right? And others can pick that up and run forward. The other issue is, why would we have good times from weak DMs in 6th edition? Streaming, right? Streaming has been so healthy and profitable and wonderful, without a doubt, for Dungeons & Dragons. Basically, I'm a big Fast and Furious fan. Dungeons & Dragons is an aspirated muscle car, right? You know what streaming is? It's the nitrous, right? Like, it is the nitrous. Like, you just wait, you hit that button, and streaming has really propelled Dungeons & Dragons forward. And so even though 5th edition has created a bevy of weak DMs who grew up running these nonsense pre-generated adventures, right, making themselves weak, making themselves, calcifying their creativity, calcifying their intelligence, calcifying their artistry, right? We still have this lattice of strong DMs showing people how to do it, and streaming has carried our hobby so much farther than anything else that's ever existed within the history of the game, that I think 6E will be weak DMs creating good times. All of that is my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think I got it right? How do you think times and people map to times and DMs through the editions of Dungeons & Dragons? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, please. I'd love to hear what you think. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.